Have you ever wondered how you can learn anything you want in just 48 hours? Is it really possible? Or is it just a dream that can never come true? The truth is that the fastest learners in the world don't perform magic. They simply follow a special strategy. And if you apply the same strategy, you too can master anything you need in life. In just 48 hours. People often say that we use only 10% of our brain's potential. But imagine if you could increase that to 50% or even 80%. What would happen? The things that used to take months to learn would start making sense to you in just a few hours. The world's fastest learners are not superheroes. They have simply understood how to use their brains the right way. Now, the real question is, how is this possible? How can someone train their brain to learn at such an incredible speed? The answer lies in the right techniques and focus. Whenever you learn something new, your brain forms neural connections. But if you repeat the same thing in a structured pattern, these connections become stronger. This means that the more efficiently you learn, the faster information gets stored in your brain. And if you do it in a specific way, you can master in 48 hours what once took you months to grasp. The first step is to develop razor-sharp focus. Without focus, you can't learn anything effectively. Remember, your brain directs energy where your attention goes. If your mind keeps wandering, your learning speed will slow down. But if you train your brain to focus on just one thing at a time, your learning speed can increase 10 times. The second key is using the right technique. Do you know that there's a secret trick to remembering things that you usually forget? It's called association, connecting new information with something familiar. For example, if you need to memorize 50 new words, simply repeating them won't help much. But if you link each word to a story or a vivid image, you'll recall them instantly and never forget them. This is the exact technique used by the world's top memory experts. The third essential rule is active learning. Have you noticed that you remember movies for years but forget a boring lecture the very next day? That's because during a movie, your brain is actively engaged, but during a lecture, it remains passive. If you want to learn faster, you must adopt active learning. This means don't just read, repeat, write, discuss, and apply what you've learned. If you're learning a new language, don't just study textbooks. Speak, listen, write, and integrate the language into your daily life. The fourth and most powerful technique is spaced repetition. This is a scientific method that says if you review something at the right intervals, it gets permanently stored in your brain. Imagine you're learning public speaking. If you practice for 10 hours in a single day, you might forget most of it the next day. But if you practice for a short time every day, your brain will retain it for a long time. That's why the lessons we repeated in school stayed with us, while the ones we only studied once were forgotten. Now, the real question is, how do you combine all these techniques to learn anything in 48 hours? First, set a clear goal for what you want to learn. Second, break it into smaller parts. If you want to learn guitar, start with basic chords before moving on to playing songs. Third, visualize what you're learning and create connections with real-life experiences. Fourth, apply what you learn immediately. Just reading isn't enough. You must experience it. And most importantly, always believe in yourself. If you think something is difficult, it will remain difficult. But if you truly believe you can do it, your brain will start working accordingly. The greatest geniuses in history weren't born extraordinary. Their biggest strength was the way they learned. If you adopt their methods, nothing will be impossible for you. Remember, true transformation happens when learning is no longer just a process, but a way of life. If you can achieve that, no skill, no knowledge, and no success will ever be out of reach. So, The question is not whether you can learn something in 48 hours. The real question is, are you ready to make it happen? If you're truly ready, then the next 48 hours can be the most powerful and life-changing hours of your life. But before you start, there's something important you must understand. Learning isn't just about gathering information. It's about transformation. Most people make the mistake of thinking that learning means memorizing facts or reading books. But real learning happens when you internalize knowledge, when you make it a part of who you are. Imagine if every new skill you learned became second nature. How powerful would you become? Now, let's talk about a crucial factor: speed versus depth. Some people try to learn fast, but only skim the surface, while others go deep, but take too long. If you want to truly master something in 48 hours, you need smart speed. That means learning fast without losing depth. And for that, you need one simple formula: understand, apply, teach. The fastest way to learn something is to understand it deeply, apply it immediately, and then teach it to someone else. When you teach, your brain restructures the information in a way that makes it stick. Even if you don't have someone to teach, say it out loud to yourself. Explain it as if you were teaching a class. You'll be shocked at how much better you retain information. But there's one more key that most people overlook: your emotional state. Have you ever noticed that when you're excited about something, you remember it effortlessly? But when you're bored or forced to learn, even a simple piece of information feels difficult. That's because emotion is the glue of memory. If you want to supercharge your learning, attach emotions to it. Make it fun. Turn it into a challenge. Give yourself rewards. Trick your brain into feeling excited about learning, and you'll absorb information at lightning speed. Now, let's talk about mindset. Most people fail to learn fast, not because they're not smart enough, but because they believe they can't. Their limiting beliefs act like invisible chains that hold them back. But here's the truth: your brain is capable of learning anything if you give it the right instructions. Tell yourself, "I am a fast learner. My brain absorbs information quickly. Learning is easy for me." This is not just motivational talk, it's neuroscience. Your brain follows the commands you give it. If you keep telling yourself that something is hard, your brain will slow down. But if you convince yourself that you can learn anything, your brain will start working at a higher level. And now, we come to the final step: the 48-hour strategy. Here's how you can learn anything in 48 hours. First 2 hours. Deeply understand the fundamentals. Don't try to memorize, try to grasp the core concept. Use visualization, make mental associations, and understand the why behind what you're learning. Next 4 hours. Apply what you've learned. If it's a skill, practice it hands-on. If it's knowledge, discuss it, write about it, or create something using it. Next 6 hours. Break it down and reconstruct it in your own way. Find gaps in your understanding and fill them. Next 8 hours. Teach it. Explain it to someone else or record yourself explaining it. Final 28 hours. Sleep, review, and repeat in spaced intervals. Every few hours, revisit what you've learned. Test yourself. Challenge yourself to recall without looking at notes. And then, something incredible will happen. After 48 hours, what once felt complex will feel natural. You will have internalized the knowledge. It will become a part of you. Now, let's be honest. Most people won't do this. Most people will hear this and think, "Wow, that sounds amazing." But they won't take action. And that's why most people never reach their full potential. But you are not most people. You are here because you want more from life. You want to be the kind of person who can master anything quickly. And now you have the tools to do it. So the only question that remains is, What will you learn in the next 48 hours? Because the moment you decide to take action, everything will change.